Call it what it is. It is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in U.S. history. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid.
To implement the Trump agenda, which is to clean up the chaos and destruction that Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the past 4 years. It will help us fund the mass deportation of illegal aliens who have been murdering and pillaging American citizens.
You won't believe the showdown that just unfolded on the House floor. Representative Ilhan Omar sounded the alarm over what she called the largest transfer of wealth in American history, warning that millions could lose access to health care and food assistance. But then Representative Brandon Gill stepped in, and what followed was a methodical, point-by-point rebuttal that flipped the entire exchange on its head. Gill didn't shout. He didn't grandstand. He calmly challenged her claims and redirected the debate toward government spending, oversight, and what he described as long-standing waste inside federal programs. For supporters of Trump's policy agenda, the moment felt like proof that the movement still has strong voices in Congress ready to defend it.
For Bill, I think this is a big, ugly bill. Let's call it what it is. It is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in U.S. history. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. The only way to slash this much safety net spending is by making it harder for people to survive. Their changes will kick millions of Americans off their healthcare and nutrition assistance. That means more untreated illnesses, more hungry children, more preventable deaths. This isn't just line items in the budget. There are people's lives, the sacrifice of human dignity and of life itself. And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? This is not a serious budget. This is a green light for authoritarianism, for inequality to run rampant. It is a police state budget wrapped in billionaire tax cuts.
Mr. Gill from Texas is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, thank you for all of your hard work. I'm thrilled about this piece of legislation as it's getting started. This reconciliation bill, I believe, will balance. It will extend the Trump tax cuts for the working class so that they don't experience the biggest tax increase in American history, and it'll grow the economy. But of course, it will also help us to implement the Trump agenda, which is to clean up the chaos and destruction that Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the past 4 years. It will help us fund the mass deportation of illegal aliens who have been murdering and pillaging American citizens. It will help us unleash our fossil fuel energy sector, and it will allow us to rebuild our military. And of course, it will help us implement DOGE, which this amendment targets, among other things. As DOGE has been rolled out, I think it's been a bit curious because I found that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not been upset about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this process has uncovered. Rather, they've been angry that the fraud has been exposed at all. We found that for decades, the administrative state has been weaponized against the American people. We can give example after example of flagrant abuses of American taxpayer dollars. We've heard of some of them earlier, but I'll name a few more. $1 million spent to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. Almost $50,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia, also through the State Department. Over $7,000 for a BIPOC speaker series in Canada through the State Department. And it's worth noting that normal, sane Americans don't know what BIPOC means, and neither do I. $80,000 for an LGBTQ community center in Slovakia, and over $16,000 for a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society, whatever that is. And of course, we also know that our taxpayer dollars have been going to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund left-wing media outlets like NPR and PBS, paying for welfare for illegal aliens, and paying for giving out payments to international organizations that are censoring and pushing for the censorship of American citizens. Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive. I think if the other side of the aisle has such a deep ideological opposition to this DOGE process, I challenge them to be straightforward with the American people and explain why taxpayer dollars should be funding queer feminist discourse in Albanian society or drag shows in Ecuador. I don't think that they will, but I would love to see it if they did. Elon Musk acting as an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did. And he certainly has more democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling at a higher approval rating than Joe Biden had on his way out of the White House. President Trump, of course, is polling at record.
Omar argued that the Republican reconciliation bill would slash Medicaid and SNAP benefits, framing it as a massive upward transfer of wealth disguised as tax relief. She warned of devastating consequences for working families and portrayed the legislation as benefiting corporations and billionaires at the expense of vulnerable Americans. Gill responded by shifting the focus to federal spending itself. He argued that before Congress talks about expanding programs, it should confront waste, fraud, and questionable expenditures already on the books. He cited examples of foreign aid and cultural grants that critics say stretch far beyond core taxpayer priorities. Funding for overseas advocacy groups, arts initiatives, and publicly supported media outlets that many Americans feel don't represent their values. His argument wasn't just about specific line items, it was about priorities. Gill framed the debate as a choice between expanding bureaucracy or tightening accountability. From there, he zoomed out to the bigger political picture. He tied the spending debate to broader Republican goals, extending tax cuts, increasing domestic energy production, strengthening border enforcement, and rebuilding military readiness. He portrayed those policies as practical steps aimed at economic growth rather than ideological expansion. Gill also criticized what he described as a decades-long trend of unelected bureaucracies gaining more influence over policy decisions. In his view, systemic inefficiencies in programs like Medicare and Medicaid show why reform, not automatic expansion, is necessary. Whether viewers agreed with him or not, his message was clear. Government waste isn't theoretical. It represents real taxpayer dollars that could be redirected, restructured, or saved. The exchange highlighted a deeper divide in Congress, one side emphasizing social protections and safety nets, the other stressing fiscal discipline and structural reform. Supporters of Gill saw the moment as a breakout performance from a rising Republican voice. Critics saw it as a clash of fundamentally different governing philosophies. But one thing is certain: the debate over spending, accountability, and the future direction of federal programs is far from over. And moments like this show that the next generation of lawmakers on both sides is ready to take that fight directly to the floor.